Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw Mad Chat. It's the weekly kickback where we get some people in here and we chat about wrestling because that's what we do here on the channel. And this week we've got some very, very, very special guests, infuriatingly special guests because they whooped our asses. And I mean whooped our asses.
Wasn't even close.
At our own WrestleMania predictions this year. The cast and crew from Busted Wide Open, the wrestling podcast. Ian and Nick, how you doing, guys?
Good,
Hey, doing?
man.
Thanks for having us,
I
guys.
don't care.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Fuck off. Get out of here.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
Don't be
deleting all of
bitter.
your asses.
You got all the belts.
Ooh, look,
Don't be
ooh.
upset. You got all the
Stay away
belts.
from my belts.
He's
These
got
are
the
my
belts. He's got the belts to prove it. We're coming for the belts next
Well,
time.
Listen,
my belt.
I'm gonna pull an Ibushi on you. I'm gonna win them all, and I'm gonna unify them into one.
And then you're going to lose him to Will Ospreay.
Then I'm gonna lose him to Will
Divas
Ospreay the next
title,
week.
and it's just going to be miserable.
Gotta put on my light there. There we go.
Oh,
Shine-
What's up, guys? Thank you
How's
for
it
having us
going?
on our show. We very much appreciate it. I'm Sir Ian Dangerous. That is Nick Howell. We really appreciate you guys having us on. It's awesome to be here.
Well, thanks for coming. It's been too
Definitely.
long because
It
like
has.
we've known you, Ian, for like way too long. We're all very old.
Very long time.
And you know, it was pretty cool when you guys started up your show. And this is a long time coming. You guys have been doing it yours for a little while now, and I regret not doing this sooner. Where can the people find you?
Mr. Nick.
Yeah, our one-stop shop. We've got a link tree, so linktree.com/BWO. That'll just take you all of our stuff, so you can like, share, subscribe, follow, do all those things that we do in
guys
2021 with the social medias.
You guys are live usually on Twitch after most shows. Is that correct?
So we have a set schedule. We're on Tuesday evenings, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern, and then we go on immediately after SmackDown. So usually about 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern.
On Fridays, yeah.
So you're
But
not.
you can find us on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. We're multi-streaming now across all platforms because people like different stuff.
that's
Yeah.
how that's how you do it.
And we do recap episodes live after every pay-per-view, every major WWE pay-per-view after like the AW Big Four. So we try to do some live stuff after those, but then we have the set weekly schedule, and we have a mailbag episode after our Tuesday show. So Tuesday runs for a long time. So that's a nice long fun one to catch up on.
What would it take for you guys to do Raw reviews live after the shit show that is Raw?
Live after Raw, I would have to
Be careful
get
with
paid
your
enough
answer,
money.
because Steve might be looking for his Monday night replacement here. So
I can usually be found regurgitating my dinner in the toilet around 8 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Pacific after finish watching that. But no, it's one of those things we've always kind of aspired to do that. The stars have not aligned for
Don't
various
do it.
no, don't do it.
Don't
The
aspire.
stars are not aligning for a
don't-
reason. They're trying to
Don't
save you
commit
the
to that
torture of
shit.
having to do it.
Don't commit to that shit. It's a terrible, terrible idea. You regurgitating in the toilet. I mean, that actually, you know,
It sounds a lot. It's a lot more fun than watching 3 hours of whatever Raw has been recent weeks.
You could replace me doing that on our show. It'd probably be more entertaining.
Right.
It's still bad. We do. I mean, Tuesday is our recap episode for Raw, and 24 hours later, it's still rough. Trying to get through it sometimes.
Doesn't
So-
get any better. Yeah.
No.
Somebody really needs to take advantage and like just review the available clips on YouTube of Raw, because that's really how you should be consuming it these days.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
pretty much.
That's an idea. Maybe we'll do that
Like
some
the
week, Steve.
like
know,
the
that's a really
5-minute
good
little compressed segments that WWE
Sometimes it's
puts
like
up there.
3. Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It's like all the essential stuff.
I've told Ian multiple times, I really just want to have a show that focuses on the video packages.
Oh yeah.
I want to do a recap show with the video packages because that's where the meat is. That's where the real show is.
Yeah. You're recapping the recaps at that point.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yes.
I like
And
that.
if the recaps are inside the recaps, then you're recapping the recaps of the recaps.
I gotta
In a way,
write
they
down
become like
these
reaction
ideas.
videos that could go viral on YouTube, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Wrestling
Yeah.
fan watches WWE recap.
Recap reactions.
Yes.
That's got a ring to it.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
That's
There you go.
Oh.
There's an idea for you. You just go ahead and take that.
All right.
We're too old to change now. Anyway.
Yeah.
So this is Matt Chat. We got a bunch of questions here. The first one, though, is going to be a text question. I think the rest of them are all video questions. right, Larson?
Correct.
All right. So first up from Luisa Reza. By the way, we get these questions from our Patreon at patreon.com/Stephen Larson. At the $20 tier, you can send in a video question or a text question. And I'm looking around for the Friendo Care package. I have to go pick up those comics from the store. But we got a Going In Raw comic that you can get as well at that $20 tier.
Somewhere.
I don't
there,
have any
maybe.
more. I'm getting the new shipment in, and like it's there. I just gotta go pick it up. Anyways, that's how you do it. Luis Reyes is first. He's got two hypotheticals. Number one, if Vince hypothetically kicks the bucket, that means dies. Or gives up control. He ain't going to die for like 30 years.
No, and then when he does, he's going to come back from the dead as zombie Vince, who's going to still be there running the thing. So
that's why he's holding on to Undertaker, because so that he can resurrect him.
And I know you don't hoard those powers of darkness. Give some to old Vince.
Give some to old Vince. Come on.
Anyways, when Vince is gone, what changes do you see Triple H implementing, and what wrestlers do you see coming back? And then there's a second hypothetical, same question. But what if instead of Triple H, Shane McMahon takes over? So, Nick, we're going to go with you first, and then Ian. Nick, what do you say when Vince leaves? What changes do you see Triple H implementing and then versus Shane implementing?
I think this operates on the assumption that Triple H does actually take over, or Shane, right? I don't think that's going to be the case. Here's the hot take. I don't think either one of them are going to take over. I think you might have somebody else like a Pritchard or somebody like in production, maybe a Kevin Dunn, something like that, wearing the headset backstage and calling things to the commentary. But I'm not convinced that the board would vote to supplant Vince McMahon with either Triple H or Shane McMahon. Now, it's going to depend on a lot of subjective factors like what's in his will, who gets his share of WWE, and that's going to have it because he's still got like 75, 80% control of the board. But there's going to be we talked about this recently on, I think it was on our mailbag episode. I don't assume that it's going to be Triple H or Shane, guys, because that's not how corporations work. There's going to be somebody installed that it might be Nick Khan for all we know. So somebody's going to be at the top. I think of the meat of this question is who's going to be in the headset in Gorilla calling back down to commentary and calling matches.
But I think what he's asking here is let's say in a world where it is Triple H, do you see Triple H bringing people back that Vince might have let go or that corporate might have let go and no one really knew that they were gone until they were gone? And if so, who's Triple H bringing back in? Who's Triple H sitting there going, damn, I let that one get away?
I'm not sure if it would bring anybody in. I think we would see a sort of a re-architecture of how superstars interact between NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. I think we would see some definite, and even 205 Live in there. I think you might even see a folding of 205 Live into the cruiserweight division of NXT, or all of them combined. So I like that they've done some separation since NXT went live to make that seemingly separate from the Performance Center. Now we've even called it the Capitol Wrestling Center. So there's kind of a line of delineation there between the two. But I see more cross-pollination happening than what Vince has allowed, in recent years. Once you're main roster, you're main roster. It's unless you're Charlotte Flair or Nia Jax, apparently, you're not going back down to NXT for any reason. I think that's the huge mistake. I feel like the cross-pollination of all of the brands, all three, would be a big deal for WWE as a whole. So that's what I would say Triple H would do.
Do you think he'd give
Shane would
NXT
probably
more
just
power?
get out of the way and let him do his thing.
Do you think he'd give NXT more power? Like Triple H would be like, all right, NXT is now the number one brand. Like, would that be his thing or?
Nah, I think he would play fair. I think he would deal with a roster. And I look at it like it's kind of operates now like Major League Baseball in a way. You've got the minor leagues, you got the farm teams and all of that. And for a while there, before it went live, that's kind of how NXT was looked at. It was the minor leagues, right? It was where you went to cut your teeth and learn the WWE way before you ever went up to, you made your surprise entrance into the Royal Rumble, right? It was just that kind of thing. Now it feels like there's those superstars on NXT could be superstars on just about any promotion these days. So I think the big thing would be this, they all kind of become one. Back in the day, we used to have like different TV shows and different people, all the same people were on both shows. I see a kind of a folding in again instead of this brand separation that we've developed over the last decade or so.
Could be. Ian, what do you think?
I'm going to take the question at face value and say, like, who did Triple H have in NXT? Looking at NXT as though if he takes over the main roster, he's going to run it like NXT. Let's assume that. Who did he have in NXT that he pushed to the moon that he thought was a big deal that got away? And he had a bunch of tag teams. I think the tag teams are the ones that suffered the most going to the main roster. And you'd have to wonder if he'd go try to recapture AOP, try to, Ascension is still out there working the indies. Like, would he go back and get some of these teams that, he spent a lot of time and effort trying to make big deals and then they fizzled on the main roster. I think one of the big releases recently, not even a release, it's kind of a mutual agreement, one that he spent a lot of time working with and massaging and trying to figure out how to get him right. And then they put together a great package for him was Andrade. Andrade is a guy who should have been a blue chipper in that company. And main roster completely dropped the ball with him. And I think that's one, if Triple H could get him back, he might want to go for him. Again, a lot of assumptions here, just going based off how Triple H ran NXT and who he put a lot of effort into and who might have gotten away on the main roster. Does he go after Eric Young again? I don't know. I think Eric Young kind of found his place over in Impact, but Andrade is kind of the big one I see him going after just right now based on what happened recently. As far as Shane, I don't know. I've got to think he brings back Steve Blackman just to get that win back.
Just so he can jump off the tower on him again.
This time, Steve Blackman does the big fall. How about that?
There's not
they
a lot.
Both fall off the same thing and onto each other onto the same.
There's not a lot of precedence for understanding what Shane would do.
Exactly.
Is there?
And he's kind of the outsider, isn't he?
There's Raw Underground.
The entire thing would be it'd all be Raw Underground.
He'd just be interrupting, going, hey.
He'd be the MC and he'd be like, "Well, stop this fight. Okay, now you go and you go." Yeah, it'd be 3 hours.
More dancing, we need more dancing girls. More club music.
I think with Triple H, I'll throw my answers out there. I think with Triple H, the idea of folding all the shows together is kind of an interesting one. I've often thought about, okay, we just need to get rid of the damn brand split because champions just aren't iconic anymore. But I don't know that there's any evidence that he would go that direction. I think that Triple H would probably view Raw and SmackDown as the place for big attractions. He might actually go and actually think of Raw as, okay, this is where the big attractions are. This is where they stay. SmackDown, this is where wrestlers are. This is where they stay. I just think that Triple H would probably you would see guys like Adam Cole get moved up to main roster. I think the one thing that he would probably work to do, and this would probably be his number one priority, even though he'd probably never really spell it out. But given how diplomatic he has to be with all these questions about Vince's insane practices, he probably understands that he'd want WWE to be the place once again where all wrestlers want to be. And so he'd make sure that guys like Adam Cole are treated in the best possible way, because let's be honest, most wrestlers coming up these days look more like Adam Cole than they do Braun Strowman. And so that's why AEW is able to have their amount of success, because they take guys that look like Adam Cole and they treat them like they're something special. And I think that that's what's kind of lacking in WWE these days, is that Finn Balor has some amount of success on main roster, and then boom, he's kicked down to NXT where he can shine, but he's on NXT. It's the pissant brand. And so, it's my favorite brand, but it is the pissant brand because they don't treat it like a true brand. And so I think that you would probably see more of the Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole type have much more success on main roster, just in general, be treated better. He'd probably allow some amount of third party, the Twitch streaming, stuff like that, which kind of matters to people just from a perception point of view, because the WWE's not really losing any money by letting people just stream on Twitch. It's kind of silly, but from a perception standpoint, it's terrible. And so I just think that if he were to create an atmosphere where guys from AEW their loyalties would maybe loosen a little bit if they know, wow, they're doing some killer storytelling over there in WWE, and they're all guys that and girls that look like us. And, our types can succeed. The smaller wrestler, the more athletic wrestler can succeed over there on the biggest stage, because, let's be honest, pretty much everybody in the wrestling business grew up thinking, man, I kind of really want to be in WWE. And along the way, that might have changed, but get based off of, the last 5 years of creative. But I think that would be one of Triple H's main priority. He's already been the point guy for people like Ronda Rousey, saying, hey, and by, the accounts that we heard about with Dave Meltzer, the Young Bucks were given an insane amount of creative control, and they still opted to go to AEW and do their own thing. So I think he would just try to make it, competitively speaking, okay, you're going to get more money and you'll get the kind of creative that you're going to want over here. A guy like Darby Allin. Okay, we're not going to completely rebrand you. We're not going to shove you on 205 on Friday nights after SmackDown. You're going to have a shot at the Universal Championship. I mean, Darby Allin's kind of an extreme example.
No, it's a great example. He's a perfect example because you think about the kind of freedom he's being given over in AEW. He's allowed to go out and make the matches he wants to make, portray himself the way he wants to be, he wants to be portrayed. And you've got him actually producing matches like the cinematic one with Sting and Cage and all of that. And he's putting out the product he wants to put out. There's no way they would give him that kind of creative freedom in WWE, even if they gave him some freedom.
Yeah.
So AEW is absolutely showcasing, hey, we'll take a guy as small as Darby. If he's talented and got the brain for the business, we're going to let him shine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's nowhere near that in WWE. And actually, it's funny that you say that Triple H would be okay with that. He might be, but not everybody that's on his immediate staff is on board. We've heard Road Dogg say, yeah, Adam Cole's great, but he, if he was the size of Karrion Kross, then he'd be the Universal Champion.
Yeah, but I also think that Road Dogg was saying that because he knows what the current landscape is.
Sure.
Not necessarily like, hey,
That's
this would be his future.
Yeah.
And he knows where his bread is buttered.
He knows where his bread is buttered, but he also knows Vince would love this guy if he were 6'5".
If he was
Vince wasn't there. Triple H would probably have him in the Universal Championship position, maybe. But then I think that Triple H also understands the importance of the attraction.
I think
Larson,
he does.
what do you think?
I think he does, and I think we've heard Triple H say, compare Raw and SmackDown to top 40 music, whereas NXT is kind of like the underground punk band, if you will.
The good stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah. So even if Triple H took charge, you might have NXT be like the Green Day, that punk band that used to be in the underground, maybe getting in the top 40. But still, I think you're going to have a delineation between, to a degree, main roster and NXT, just from a stylistic perspective, because it gives something for everybody.
Variety,
Steve, you mentioned you got the attractions on Raw, you got like the wrestlers on SmackDown, and then on NXT you have this kind of very more like WWE's version of indie wrestling, like PWG, if you will. What I think would be kind of consistent across the board would be kind of the hallmarks of NXT from a storytelling perspective. They create this world with its own rules. They follow those rules. That's something, especially on Raw, that doesn't exist.
Right.
Like from a logical perspective, sometimes segment to segment, you're scratching your head wondering, why is this character doing this? Because it makes no sense from a character perspective in terms of their motivations. I think that would be far more consistent if Triple H was running things. Where's the rest of my answers? There it is. My pen blew up. And also we get a lot more chain link fence.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the branding, in terms of the architecture of the sets. Just
more
more metal type
More
stuff
metal.
overall.
More metal.
Shiny backgrounds. Just more metal. We're going to talk about Raw Underground if Shane were to take over. I'm also hoping we'd have Mean Street Posse be the GMs of Raw, SmackDown, NXT,
Absolutely.
respectively. Bring back Mean Street Posse.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, was Shane involved? I don't know. Who was it? Goddamn, who was it that said? Well, I don't know. I forget, so I'm not even going to mention it. But but yeah, Shane. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Shane's in charge. The official wardrobe of WWE, Jordans.
I feel like
everyone's in Jordans.
I feel like Shane. I don't know. I don't even know if Shane would take that job if they're like, "Hey, do you want head of creative?" I don't know that he'd take. I feel like Raw Underground was like sort of a thing where he came in and was like, "Hey, you know what me and my college buddies used to do," and then he described Raw Underground, and like it was probably just a brainstorm meeting. And then Vince is like, it's like he was like the Roman in Succession. He was like, "Okay, Roman, let's try that." And then it's just like this clusterfuck of like dancing girls and weird music. And
am I crazy to
think
that it wasn't a bad idea in theory?
No, it was a good idea in theory. It was actually a really cool idea in therery.
In
Didn't
execution,
follow
it just
through on any of it. No,
should have had a title.
They even tried to make it like that shoot fight underground stuff by bringing Ruas in there and Dabba-Kato and stuff like that.
Well,
it was kind of like a
Bloodsport.
real life Mortal Kombat in a way.
It was just blood sport. You want to see it done well, it's blood sport.
Yeah.
And that's but it's done the WWE way and it looks like shit.
Yeah.
Our next question from a debuting Matt Chatter, Benny Omega. Let's see what Benny Omega has to say.
Long lost brother, Kenny and Lenny.
Hey friendos, Benny Omega here. Now, The Fiend as a character in the WWE can't last forever. So, how would you book the end of The Fiend as a character? What would its last match be, last feud? Thank you.
Thank you, Benny Omega.
Thank you, Benny Omega.
Ian, what do you say? Book the end of The Fiend in WWE.
Book the end of The Fiend. Okay, so this is, for me, this is a bit of a passion project. We dissected That cinematic match the Fiend had last year at WrestleMania.
Brilliant.
It.
It was brilliant.
It was absolutely amazing. And I think actually our dissection of it's up on YouTube right now.
You can find the whole thing over on YouTube right now.
Really,
it's a free Patreon bonus episode preview.
Yeah, really, really proud of that. And I've been a really big fan of Bray Wyatt's since he debuted with the Eater of Worlds, a Swamp character. And I love the way that he's kind of almost, despite WWE's best attempts at sabotaging the character over and over and over again, sabotaging him over and over and over again, he keeps coming up with ideas and ways to just keep resuscitating himself. At this point, though, it feels like they've kind of reached a point with the Fiend where a lot of the best ideas for the Fiend have been squandered, they've tried to use him. A lot of the ways that you could have kind of the fall of the Fiend have been used. You know, someone's invaded the Firefly Funhouse. I think Seth Rollins got in there.
Braun got in there.
Braun got in there, right? Braun got in there too. You know, Randy Orton now has lit him on fire and brought him back, and he still can't get his damn revenge on Randy Orton because Alexa Bliss turns on him because somehow that's a blind spot for him. So I just had this idea that going forward, there's this almost like Marvel Endgame kind of thing where the Fiend is just absolutely unleashed now that Alexa's turned on him. The Fiend, being that the Fiend is, at least in the way that Bray's trying to tell the story, his pent-up rage at everything that's happened to him as a character, and by extension, metaphorically, him as a wrestler and being booked by WWE, this is kind of the final straw. And so the Fiend goes on this rampage through the brands, not going after titles because that was always a terrible idea for this kind of character, but he goes on a rampage of just taking out superstars right and left, especially people who he still has to get some revenge on. According to what I recall, there's people that he needed to get revenge on that are no longer in WWE. CM Punk, Chris Jericho, Neville, Dean Ambrose, Bo Dallas, they're all gone now, so he can't get revenge on them, but he still has issues to take out on New Day. Roman Reigns, Goldberg owes him one.
Yeah.
I don't think Randy Orton ever really got finished with that. And of course, Alexa Bliss. And as he makes his way through taking all these people out over the next couple of years, it becomes like a reign of terror and everyone's terrified of the Fiend. When's he going to strike next? I'd love to see him, you know, RK Bro become something really fun that the fans get behind. Randy almost starts turning face and then ultimately gets taken out, perhaps injured and taken off the shelf for a few months by Bray, and that being kind of Bray turning really to the dark side, ultimately leading up to a match at WrestleMania with the one guy, the guy who started the Fiend off, the first victim of the Fiend, a guy coming back who's the only person who could stand up against the Super Fiend at this point, and that's Finn Balor returning from NXT to take out the one man who took me out. You know what you never done, Bray Wyatt? You've never taken out the demon. Fiend versus Demon at WrestleMania for all the marbles.
But the Fiend wears the Sister Abigail muumuu that they were almost going to do there at TLC.
No, yeah, that's one aspect that I kind of feel like Vince.
But Pumpkin Balor, right? Pumpkin Demon.
Yeah,
for sure.
against Pumpkin Balor. Yeah,
Pumpkin Balor and cross-dressing Fiend. No,
right.
damn.
Yeah.
And then, but then at the end of the match, John Cena, covered in black oil, pops up through the ring
that's good.
to pull Bray down into the ring and absolve him of all his sins. And then he comes back as this redeemer character. Now he's a good guy. Funhouse Bray is now here just to take, you know, to make bad guys see the error of their ways, and then ultimately can turn evil again in the distant future. Find the Fiend mask like hiding back in the back somewhere like Thanos' glove. I'm going off on this. Someone else please take over for me.
All right.
I want to do all the crazy supernatural booking that would make Cornette want to hang me.
All right, so I like a lot of the sort of end game stuff that you're talking about. I'm going to do this though. I'll keep it kind of simple. It'll be a Firefly Funhouse match, but with Vince, and it's going to be Vince's retirement match. It'll be with Vince officially has his exit plan, and it turns out that the Fiend's goal the entire time, and you can totally trace this, is that he's been trying to fix the WWE, and so the final boss for that, because everybody the Fiend fights gets better. You get Prince Devitt back. You get John Cena gone. And so like Daniel Bryan transform, Alexa Bliss all of a sudden is way cooler. So everybody that he touches just gets better.
Except
and that's what's been his MO the whole time. And so once Vince is done away with and Vince on screen gets disappeared like John Cena did, once that happens, there's no longer a need for the Fiend, and you get this pure what's his shoot name is Rotunda.
Husky Harris.
Wyndham
Husky
Rotunda.
Harrison. Oh,
so
yeah.
Husky Harris. So you just get like Wyndham Rotunda, and it's just him, and he's like a family man, and he can like walk off into the sunset with his family. And
He's Clint Eastwood on the front porch.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah. And so Vince is gone. His job is done. The Fiend has no reason to exist anymore. In fact, maybe the Fiend will be the gatekeeper for the negative zone where Vince resides now. And so yeah, it's a way to write Vince off of TV. I think the Fiend is the perfect thing to do that.
Oh, that is fantastic.
That's really good. My idea is terrible. So we have some sort of Firefly Funhouse situation. Maybe it's set up for Orton. They finally come full circle with that storyline 3-4 years down the line.
Still with Orton.
Yeah, why not?
Burn him alive. Burn him alive.
And so it's a Firefly Funhouse situation. Mind games back and forth, because Orton's probably one of the few people in WWE that could dole out the mind games as well as Bray can. And at a certain point in this Firefly Funhouse match, I'm just making this up on the spot right now, he's face-to-face like a mirror situation with Husky Harris. And it's like him coming to grips with the failed launch of his whole career. And then out of that mirror comes Goldberg, spears him. And then once that spear happens, because we've learned that Bray's weakness, the Fiend's weakness, for sure, is Bill Goldberg.
It's Goldberg.
Is
Or
Bill
the
Goldberg.
spear, because Roman got him with that too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. So Goldberg spears him. He hits the floor, just disappears like Cena does. It's completely confusing, totally underwhelming, completely fitting with what WWE would probably approach how to end the Fiend, and that's bad. It's a terrible idea.
That's just too accurate to what's probably going to happen.
Yeah, that's more probable than anything.
Having Goldberg in the mirror, kind of like Warrior.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Have Zabisco on commentary just for
All right, Nick, you're up. How would you book the end of Le Fiend?
Well, it kind of sucks going last sometimes because Ian kind of stole mine. I definitely ultimately end with the Demon being the one to put away the Fiend. Who can be the bigger supernatural figure? I do think there is something where you could have. I think I feel like in a way they might have started this process already with what they did at Mania with Alexa Bliss, and how now they've made everything that Bray did leading up to Alexa joining completely irrelevant because, it wasn't Bray, it was this stupid doll, because that makes sense, right? So I feel like they might be already in the process of trying to wind him down anyway. So I'm wondering, yes, do I ultimately think it would be badass as hell if we could have the Demon versus the Fiend, because the Demon's never lost. The Demon still continues to win. He is the one that ultimately has to be conjured to be able to take out the Fiend. But I definitely like that idea the best. I don't know. I love the Vince thing too, man. By the way,
Yeah, I love the Vince
would
thing
be
too.
That would be super fun.
I came up with that shit on the spot.
That's good. That's good. Much better than I came up on the spot. Mine was trash. Anyways, we got the next question from Maxter of Puppets. Let's see what Maxter of Puppets has to say.
Hey, Friendos, Maxter of Puppets here, aka Max Monroy. This is my first match chat question. I just wanted to ask you guys, in one of you guys' NXT reviews, you guys said that LA Knight is a good supportive character. But I feel like once he gets to main roster, he's probably going to get pushed to the moon. I feel like Vince is going to fall in love with him because the similarities to The Rock and everything. How do you guys feel like his main roster is going to go? And do you guys think they're going to change his name? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Maxter of Puppets. Oh,
Thank you,
God,
Maxter.
yeah, dummy. Oh, LA Knight. Oh, what's he going to do on main roster, dummy? Yeah. Here's the deal. Basically, it's Elias territory. That's a ceiling. You look at Elias, you look at LA Knight. That's a ceiling. That's all he can do on main roster. No better than that. No singles titles, maybe a tag title reign. But definitely not 24/7 either. He's not going to go down that low, dummy. And that's not an insult. It's just a fact of life. Yeah, it's basically Elias. That's what it is.
Yeah. He's one mistake from being EC3 2.0. EC3 on the main roster seemed like a slam dunk.
A slam
A
dunk.
slam
dude.
dunk. He somehow
Slam
pissed
dunk.
Vince off, and out the door he went. EC3 was the most slam dunk of all the NXT call-ups in the last 3 years for main roster success. I'm not saying the
main
best
roster,
wrestler,
yeah.
for main roster success, and it didn't happen. So if LA Knight, if Eli Drake goes up to main and just does something, that Vince doesn't like. He's in the doghouse, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my worry. But realistically, yeah, like a decent mid-carder.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
kind of
you know, he might get a whiff at the IC or US title. He might sniff it, have a couple title matches.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think he'll win it. Maybe they'll say, hey, let's see what he can do with the title. Won't do anything.
Maybe he'll be a transitional champion,
Yeah, he can aspire to do that. Let's see.
The transitional US champ.
Nick, what do you say?
I think he could be bigger. I think he's got the chops, and it's really all about the gimmick and the name. Eli Drake's been around for a while. We know what he's capable of. We know he can work. We know he's got good mic chops. A repackaging of the guy overnight, could completely change his perception on the main roster. I think we could see him in upper mid card, if not down the road, getting to some bigger titles, going for the Universal. Once we get past however long this Roman Reigns title reign is going to be. I do see something where he could be much bigger because we haven't really had. I'm trying to think. We haven't really had any good, like solid white meat baby faces at the top of the card. Drew McIntyre aside, for a while, and that was what was so refreshing about Drew is that, oh my God, finally we have something at the top again that's like we can get behind. Yeah, because after what they did to Kofi, we all kind of lost hope, right? And then Drew came up. So I'm looking at LA Knight going, and Austin Theory for that matter, both of those guys going, they're kind of prototypes. Like that's kind of exactly what we want. Just give them a better package, better names, and they could perform. So I think the sky's the limit. I'm optimistic about him. Whether or not Vince gets behind him or not, that's always the question.
Whoa,
that's the big question.
I'm sorry, a better name than LA Knight? Are you kidding me? That name that's like top tier. That's like S tier right there, man. You're crazy.
I know. He wrote a better name than Austin Theory.
Oh, Austin Theory is a great name.
I know.
Austin
it's
Theory,
a
by the way,
name.
if they are able to get his creative as well as they have on NXT, he is going to be a WrestleMania main eventer.
Sky's the limit.
The
100%.
sky's the limit on Austin Theory.
We've been calling him blue chip since he was in Evolve, man. That guy is.
I heard great things about him, and then when they first debuted him in WWE, I was like, I don't really see it. But then lately,
Yeah, they bungled it a little bit.
To see what he could do lately, I was like, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
What
character
a-
perspective, it's great.
What
He's
a
got
hard
comedy. He's got
left
seriousness. He's got aggression. He's got all of that stuff.
turn. The physique, the look.
Yep.
What a hard left turn he took, though, going from being kind of like the next John Cena, trajectory to he's a complete comedy goofball. What a bizarre turn. But that's actually, unfortunately, I think the kind of the same thing might happen with LA Knight. You're talking about a guy, let me talk at you. As a guy who's got mic chops, obviously a very specific cadence in his way of speaking, which I think
he's The Rock.
He's The Rock meets 1980 NWA promos. Like he's got a very specific cadence. And it's kind of fun, but it's also, I think, ultimately possibly going to be limiting to him. And when you get him on the main roster, it's going to be too easy to be what I think is his ultimate demise. You said Elias, mid-card, good hand, possibly at some point does a comedy angle, and after that he gets pigeonholed in being a comedy guy, and he's doing dancing segments for 2 weeks after that. So that's the ceiling I see for him. Elias was a great call. Mid range, good hand. Have fun being the next Alexander Kozlov.
Let's see. Our favorite Matt chatter, Christopher Rabersod, has a question. Let's see what Christopher has to say.
Hello, Stephen Larson, coming at you from the Pyramid in Las Vegas, Nevada. So my question is, what celebrity would you like to see join WWE to have a match with a Pacific superstar or a tag team? Let me know, guys. Coming from Las Vegas. Bye.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you,
All right,
Christopher.
Larson. What celeb do you want to see join the WWE? Can't say Bad Bunny because he already did it and he was awesome.
Yeah, he was awesome. I want to see LeBron James when he stops playing basketball. Have LeBron have a tag match with John Cena. That's a huge WrestleMania match right there. They'll probably take on The Miz and maybe Morrison because The Miz is like top celebrity guy now. Maybe they'll do Miz and Braun Strowman because Braun Strowman's kind of in celebrity wrestler territory as well. That's a pretty formidable team for LeBron and Cena to take on. LeBron, I think he's a wrestling fan. I think he'd have respect for the industry. He's a great athlete. I think he put in the work to go out there and put on a good show. I think it'd be awesome if we got to see LeBron in a WWE ring. I think that'd be great.
I'd love that. That'd be great.
100%.
Nick, what do you say? Give me a celeb you want to see join WWE.
So for some reason, I'm hung up on having John Oliver call commentary in WWE. I know the second half of the question was which superstar or tag team would they face, but hang on. I think if I can forego that second half, I think having John Oliver calling commentary, just making fun of everybody and just being a really brilliant, creating these puns and references like he does on his show on HBO. I think he'd be amazing to have on commentary. That would be mine. For like athletes, there's a whole list you could have come on and participate in the ring in a certain way. WWE is chock full of failed football players. So we're getting ready to have the draft is tonight, right? Night one of the draft is happening tonight. Who doesn't make the draft in 6 weeks, right?
Right.
Be on the lookout for those big, because it's an offensive lineman full draft this year. So you're gonna have some 300 pounders that don't get drafted this year. Be on the lookout.
Yeah.
Ian, let's hear it. What celeb do you want to see in the WWE?
You know, I was going to take the easy way out and say Conor McGregor in a squash match against Braun Strowman, but that just seemed like it was just kind of fait accompli at this point. In all seriousness, I would love to see Charlize Theron come in and have some sort of angle with Charlotte Flair, but then I thought, let's have a little fun with this, and let's have Jason Momoa come in for some twin magic with Roman Reigns, right? Roman Reigns, you know, he might lose a match. Daniel Bryan's got him. He's got him in the yes lock. But then out from underneath the ring comes Jason Momoa to break things up. Little twin magic, little shuffling of the deck. That's the one I want to see.
That's good.
I like that. That's good. But I think I have everybody beat here. I want to see Matthew McConaughey manage Cameron Grimes.
Oh, that's good.
How awesome would that be?
That's
and
good.
you get him in the Colonel Parker outfit where he's got like the white suit and like the white cowboy hat. That'd be amazing.
No, have him wear the orange one he wears at the University of Texas basketball games.
They're just driving around in Buicks together.
And him and Grimes do the thing from Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. That'd be so much money. I like the Momoa Reigns though. That's good.
What was Roscoe P. Colt? Boss Hogg's thing.
Boss Hogg,
His big, huge convertible Cadillac. They're just driving that around everywhere.
McConaughey would eat that up.
Okay, so McConaughey, Grimes pull up in a Buick. They open the doors. Massive clouds of smoke pour out, and the two of them and Matt Riddle get out of this car and head in to just demolish catering.
That's great.
That would be an amazing angle. I'm all for it.
I love
it.
All right. All right. Let's
All right.
Speaking of getting high, we got Church Jackson here.
Hey.
He's very open about that. Let's see what he has to say.
It's Church Jackson here, a.k.a. Haha Jackson, a.k.a. Sorry I'm Baked. You guys, you can just call me Church from now on. It's okay, I promise. Also, from now on, I should be known as the Going In Raw historian, because I know everything. Well, I'm leaving you guys with this question. They're doing the A&E biographies and all the great wrestlers. Why don't you give me one or two guys that you would love to see huge deep dives on, and they can't be called Sid. All right, that's it for this month. Too Sweet. What am I doing? Too Sweet, Hearty Handshake, and Larson. Stop stealing belts.
Thank you, Church.
Thank you, Church.
Appreciate the question. Nick, what do you say? A&E biography on what wrestlers?
There's only one that comes to mind for me, and his name is Alan Ray Sarvin, better known as Al Snow.
Oh, interesting pick. Okay.
I would love to see one on Al Snow that documents his journey through wrestling. Because it is from what I understand, it is a journey, and just the whole rise amidst some of the greatest wrestlers we've ever seen in WWE. Somehow, this guy is one of the most over people in the company, coming out slinging a mannequin head up in the air that has "head" written on it, or "help me" written on it. What do we want? Head. You know, amongst The Rock and Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, like this guy is one of the most over people in the company hysterically. I would love to see one on Al Snow. That would be mine.
That's a really good answer. Ian, what do you say? What do you want to see?
I have such a long list here. I want to see so many guys get. I mean, everyone from. And it's not even like underground, but like I'd love to see one on like El Santo and Blue Demon, and or Vern Gagne, Pedro Morales, Harley Race. I think my big one though is going to be Junkyard Dog.
Oh yeah,
that's you talk about guys who are unsung, kind of like a la and Al Snow, guy who was Mid-South. You talk about a hot angle, him and DiBiase, him and Butch Reed, hot as hell. He goes to WWE and he's a mid-carder at best. You know, and then just never quite gets his footing after that and passes away an untimely death. Like it's a really cool, interesting story. And he's also one of the, you know, big first African-American stars. I think that'd be really awesome. I'd love to see something done with him because Lord knows WWE hasn't really done anything with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Okay, my turn. I'm going to go with it because I have like a book about them, but I haven't like read it yet. But the people who basically made wrestling into what it is today, the Goldust Trio. So Ed Lewis, Billy Sandow, and Toots Mondt.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The story of like them creating the idea of finishes, of false finishes, of hey, let's not have them shoot. Let's just fix these matches and just have them do moves and stuff and act like they're like that. To me, is a story that is just dying to be told. I would love a documentary of any type on the Goldust Trio. Also, Fritz von Erich, because his parenting skills seem suspect at best. And I really want somebody to dive into that. I'm sorry, but like that it was like, man, that's fucked up. So
yeah. How many did he lose? Good Lord.
I know. And it's like, I don't know if you can't like blame him, but at the same time, like I think there's a fascinating question as to, you know, what it is to be a parent and bring your kids up in the way he did in pro wrestling, putting them out there and encouraging them to get that deep into the business and then losing them all. There are just some very interesting questions in that story that I feel like even in, so like, you know, we've interviewed the guys from Dark Side of the Ring. They're awesome. And we love that show and we're going to bring them on next week. But like, I do feel like even in that episode, which was a really, really interesting look at the Von Erichs, nobody's really examined the question of like, what was this guy thinking? You know, these are his boys, and he's just sort of, you know, making them the wrestling foundation of his company. I just think that's an interesting thing that you could look at.
And especially if you compared it to other wrestling dynasties or wrestling families, the Guerreros, the Harts, the Gagnes,
for sure, yeah.
How did some of them work out so well? Some of them kind of questionable, and then some of them just absolute tragedies.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I just think it's an interesting question, is all.
Totally,
definitely.
I'm gonna go with some deep cuts here. First one, I got Ernest the Cat Miller, 3-time world karate champion.
Yes. You're going old school with that one.
Rising the ranks, WCW, being in the wrestler opposite Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
In the final match, and then finally, Glacier. My favorite character to play as a WCW versus NWO World Tour. You couldn't beat me if I was Glacier.
That's true.
And you know, he had that short run WCW, did some stuff in the Indies afterwards. He's a trainer now at the at Nightmare Factory, working with Cody and QT. You know, he debuted in WCW with some ballyhoo, with some hype, didn't really go anywhere. And you know, he's another in a long list of people who seemingly companies had high hopes in, and it didn't go anywhere. It's interesting to hear that story from that perspective. What did he do after that debut? After he thought, all right, this is my break. This is me. I'm going to be launched to the top now. And it didn't happen. It'd be interesting.
You're going to do the Cat, and you're going to do Glacier, but you're not going to do RoboCop if you're doing WCW like that.
I've seen RoboCop. I want to know the origin story there.
Oh, okay.
They should do a biography on Randy the Ram from The Wrestler, like a fake biography on him. That'd be awesome. Because it'd be fun to, like, I don't know, make up the whatever federation he was a part of in that alternate timeline.
What about one on Mantor?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, examine his past. What the
do it all in kayfabe, though. All in kayfabe.
Yeah.
Keep the kayfabe.
Yeah, it all has to be in kayfabe.
Why did he co-star in Time Bandits with Sean Connery?
There you
like,
go.
I want to know. Yeah.
There you go.
Honestly, there should be more in kayfabe biographies. To be
How did he enjoy working on the Harry Potter movies? You know, all kinds of good stuff in there.
Exactly. Good answers all. Let's hit up Dirty Rich now for a question. Let's see what he has to say.
Good morning, friendos. I'm going to keep this brief because it's 6 a.m. here on the East Coast, getting ready to donate plasma before going to work. So, very simple. Stephen Larson and this month's guests, just book your favorite all-time Fatal 4-Way. You can go in the past and talk about one that you've seen, or you can book your own. Either way, your choice. Have fun with it. Too sweet.
Thank you, Dirty Rich.
Thank you, Dirty Rich.
Ian, your favorite all-time favorite four-way match.
This is going to be a different match depending on what day I wake up. I mean, there's some days I'm going to wake up. I'm a big fan of ladder matches. They're my favorite type of match. So automatically it's going to be a fatal four-way ladder match. Automatically. It's just a matter of who's going to be in it. Today I woke up. Today it's going to be AJ Styles, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Eddie Guerrero in a ladder match. But tomorrow I could wake up and it could be Necro Butcher, Nick Gage, Low Key, and New Jack in a someone might die match. Someone's going to die match. But I'm gonna stick with my first one there. I want to see a bunch of dudes doing insane, flippy, flying around things with a bunch of ladders, and I'm gonna take them all four of them in their prime. So like Ricochet and Will Ospreay, circa 2017, 2018. AJ from like 2011, and then Eddie, of course, from like 2002.
Good. What a great answer right there. Well, I'm actually going to steal, because this is what I have written down, but it's a someone might die match. But in my participants is Bruiser Brody, Necro Butcher, Mr. Pogo, and Nick Gage. Nick Gage.
Nick Cage as Nick Gage.
Yeah,
There you go.
It's four Nick Cages, and he's playing all these different characters here.
I'm happy you said 4 Nick Cages, because in my match, I had another idea, but seeing Cody behind Ian, we're going to have the 4 Faces of Cody match. You're going to have Stardust versus Dashing Cody Rhodes versus American Nightmare versus Bullet Club Cody, where he just has the Bullet Club logo on his boots, but otherwise he's basically not a member of Bullet Club. That's what
really
I want to
good.
see for Top Cody. Cody goes over. That's a guarantee.
I guarantee you he's pitched that idea, too. He has pitched that idea.
Definitely.
The company's going to go broke from the amount of pyro from the entrances alone.
You got that right.
Match.
Listen,
The entire 3-hour pay-per-view is Cody's entrances.
Yeah.
Listen, Tony, I'm telling you, Tony, let's do this. We can do the cinematic with CGI. With what? CGI? Nick, who do you got?
I'm still blown away with the 4 Faces of Cody. That's really messing with my mind right now of how good that would be, and how good the fireworks show would be. Better than any 4th of July fireworks show I think I've ever seen. So I'm with Ian here. We're both ladder match fiends. Like we love anything that's ladder matches. But here's what I'll do. I'll one up it with tag teams. All right, I'll take it up with a 4-way tag team match, 4-way tag team ladder match, and we'll go Road Warriors versus New Day versus Gargano and Ciampa versus AOP.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
so NXT guys with Road
Warriors.
Oh, that's it.
Guys with Road Warriors.
Listen, I could very easily. We've seen most of those before. We've seen the Dudleys and Edge and Christian and the I'm blanking right now. We've seen those TLC matches before.
Yeah.
And the Hardys. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But so I can't really call those out. Of course, they're amazing, legendary matches. But I'm trying to think of ones like recent memory. Who are the favorite tag teams, and then one legend team. That's where my head went.
That's good. No, that's good. I was also thinking, like, I want to see the Artist Collective, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Cesaro, and then Daniel Bryan.
That'd be good.
Like, I just want to see that. That sounds like it's amazing.
I'll say, what about a 4 Pillars of Heaven fatal 4-way? Kobashi, Misawa, Taue, and Kawada.
There you
in a
go.
fatal 4-way match.
There you
I
go.
had another answer here. Is all former Bullet Club leaders: Finn versus AJ versus
Oh,
Kenny
yeah.
versus Jay White.
That's a good one. I like it.
Not
I like
evil?
it a lot.
Evil and
Jay White?
Kenta are outside just
Yeah.
messing around
Right.
with Dick Togo
Togo.
and Gato.
Whoa.
The spoiler.
Messing around with Dick is a weird thing coming out of
Hey
your
now.
mouth. Hey
All
now.
right, we got one more question here from Dan Laudato. Let's see what he has to say.
You are listening to Wrestling Muse Meow. Rumor has it that Peacock is unhappy with the ratings for 205 Live. Viscous Man is considering replacing it with a new show called WWE Hardstyle. It would feature matches fought in a more aggressive manner. He likes it because it would build monsters, but it will also feature cruiserweights that would become more believable than chopping down bigger competitors. My match act question is, what's your elevator pitch to Viscous Man for a new 1-hour show to replace 205 Live that'd feature developmental talent?
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate
Thank you,
the
Dan.
question. All right, this is really easy. It's called Walter's Follies, and it's Walter and his wrestling class and Imperium, and they're just watching Botchamania.
Oh, that's good.
And he's just sitting him with popcorn. Oh, this is so funny. Look at this part. Oh, this is great. Look at this. Oh, look. He fell. Did you see that? He fell. It's Walter's Follies.
That's good.
I'm hearing Arnold.
I love that Walter.
Walter and Arnold, yeah, it's
They're the same.
You're gonna
thing.
get Ian started.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
gosh.
me and Rusev.
You pepper in a little bit of Werner Herzog there too. Look at these. Look at all of these competitors there on the screen.
I'm sorry, I had to stop the interview. I've been shot.
It's wonderful. Yes. And then you should put a bear in there to symbolize nature versus man.
There you go.
All right, who's next?
I think it's me.
Larson, give us another show.
So I don't have a name, but essentially it's American, or it's Ninja Warrior, but with wrestlers. So it's a competition show. So every episode, a new prospective WWE superstar has to wrestle in a gauntlet match, and if they win the gauntlet, they get a contract.
Oh wow!
And at the end of the year, if nobody wins, and it's like with each new person in the gauntlet matches, like their power rankings are higher. They're stronger competitors. Like the first round, you might face Coda Reeves. All right, you get that win. But progressively up the card you go as the competitors go on. So if you don't win your match, you get like a last chance where they'll have, I don't know, say if you get to the final round, whoever gets to the final competitor, you dump all those people in a ring. You have a match. Whoever wins that match, they get the contract.
I hope you literally dump them in a ring too. It's like they had some sort of chute that
you take the cannons from the pirate ship on the WrestleMania stage, propel them.
It's the old meat grinder from you can't do that on television.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, come out.
That's great. What's the name of this show?
I didn't come up with a name.
There is no name to this show. How great would that be if there's no name to it? They're like
The Wrestle
hey,
Show.
You watching that thing that they do on Friday night after SmackDown?
So you want to be a wrestler?
It's awesome. What is
There
it
you go.
called? There's no name to it. It's just all of a sudden there's a ring and a bunch of wrestlers start falling into it. And we don't even know the rules. Nobody explains anything. That would be my answer. Let's see here, Nick. What's your answer on this one?
So mine is a combination of a lot of things that I love. I'm really enjoying Masked Singer. So I'm only going to, since it's 205 live, we're going to have people wear masks so that there's no picking out who anybody are, no bias, right? But then we're going to feature hardcore scenarios such as in CZW and Combat Zone. And we're going to set it in the tone of Running Man. So you were talking about going through gauntlets. So we're going to have guys in masks, little 205 live guys that have to face giant, big 300+ pounders, wrestlers with weapons and light tubes.
Wow.
Trying to kill them before they get out. And if they make it out, they get to come up the main roster for a title opportunity.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's great.
Masked running wrestler.
I'll see you in the rating. I'll see you. What did he say? I'll see you in the reruns. I'll be back only in the reruns.
That's what Richard Dawson said. Yes.
What happened to the Brian Kendrick? He had to split. Yeah, I get it, man. I like that.
He had to split.
He had.
What was that? Rip out your goddamn spine.
Cohagen.
Damn you, Vince. I'm gonna put my hand into your stomach and I'll rip out your goddamn spine. Yeah.
All right, Ian. What's your
Jesus? I went completely opposite, kind of goofy, childish way. I went for Saved by the Ring Bell, and I'm gonna do like a performance center Saved by the Bell, basically. But like I'm taking this serious in the sense that it'd be kind of like a Breaking Ground meets Real World kind of thing at the performance center. So it's in a way you're teaching these wrestlers how to perform in dramatic scenes while at the same time recreating their life at the performance center with them training. Is there drama between them and their trainer? Is there drama between people who are being more competitive about how they're training? Who's the teacher's pet, right? Oh, Parker Boudreaux, he got some extra reps today. Why is that? Oh, well, he's here on the off hours, kissing up to Drake Wirtz. Oh, Drake Wirtz, that guy, and you could get all kinds of
the
weird
QAnon
inside.
guy?
Yeah, the QAnon guy, man. You have a whole QAnon episode, a very special episode of Saved by the Ring Bell. Teach you all about
Flat Earth, yay or nay? Nay, you're out of here.
You're right. Come on. COVID, never heard of it. So,
think about the children. Are you thinking about children?
Are you thinking about the children? Are you no? Don't you know what happens when you put a mask on? You kill a child.
You kill a child.
Get out of my class. Get out of my class. Go talk to Matt Bloom. So no, and actually, I'm kind of joking about it, but I'm kind of serious. I would actually like to see that as a way, like they have WWPC on YouTube right now, showing kind of the real lives of these people, like some sort of intersectional thing of that, where like you see them get like, you know, a bad gimmick and have to work through it, how they attack it, like how they try different things. You know, Xia Li having no real gimmick, but then getting this really crazy out there gimmick, and how she reacts to it, how she's training her like in the mirror at home, trying to figure out her facials, that kind of thing. So something between reality and fiction and the day-to-day life at the performance center, I think would actually be a really cool show. And I mean that in all seriousness. I think it'd actually be a really cool show.
Yeah, that does sound good. Breaking Ground is like one of my favorite.
Yeah,
shows.
it's awesome.
That was. I'm so bummed out they didn't continue it on.
Yeah,
except when they fired our friend on camera. Fuck them.
Yeah,
for
that was
doing
bogus. That was lame.
I do like the idea of turning WWE PC's YouTube channel into more of what they're doing with AEW Dark Elevate. Where it's kind of showcasing new talent and stuff like that. I mean, it's a shame WWE, they brag every week about how many more hits that they get than in the Major League Baseball, but they're not doing anything with it. You know, they're not promoting it on
good
on
content.
shows. It's not good content. It's just recaps of shit I've already seen on TV. Most of it, you know.
Yeah.
If you've actually watched the
missed
TV.
opportunity, big time for those guys.
Absolutely.
Totally.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming here today and
very
hanging
much
out with
appreciate it.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Congratulations. Do we owe you anything for you guys beating us at WrestleMania? Do we have to like come on your show and eat shit or something?
You still have those neck tattoos coming, boys. You'll have,
are you sending those to us?
Yep, you're gonna get. They were supposed to be there by today, but it did not make it in time. There will be some lovely neck tattoos of our logo with our faces on them for you to wear at some time in the future on the show.
Oh, what a terrible. I don't know whose idea that was.
We'll come up with something lovely for next year then.
All right. Anyway, Busted Wide Open.
Go check them out.
Go check them out. Thanks, guys.
link-
Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Thanks so much.